Namaste. Welcome to the 6th edition of the Global Festival of Oneness organized by Indica Moksha, celebrating the life and works of Adi Shankara. My name is Anuradha and I'm the host for this session. Let us start with a prayer. Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. We are honored to have with us Vidwan Manikandan Iyer, who is going to talk on the subject Contemplation on Supreme Truth, Mahāvākya-vicāra in Shankara Bhashya. Before we get on to the talk, let me introduce the speaker. Vidwan Manikandan Iyer is a banker by profession and a Sanatani by practice, and he's had the rare fortune of having learned Vedanta and Tarka from renowned teachers. He studied Vyakarana under Vidwan Sri Tilak Rao, and he studied Vedanta under Guru Brahma Sri Sridhara Sharma. He has also learned from Vedanta further from Mahāvākya Shastra Ratnakar Vidwan Sri Mullai Vasal Krishnamurti Shastri. Welcome to the program, Iyerji.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha. Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam. Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram. Pumbhavam Samupeyushi Bhagavati Kim Bharati Rajate. Kim Va Sadhana Samhritan Dhritavapur Jnanam Samindhef Param. Ityullikhya savismayam kritadhiyo dhyayanti yam bharati tirthasyasya jagadguroh kushalada shripādukāme gatihi. Vidya vinaya sampannam vitaragam vivekinam. Vande Vedānta tattvajñam vidushayakara bharatim. Sarvashruti shirodbhuta samudbhasita murtaye Vedāntambuja suryaya tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We are in the second Mahāvākya-vicāra of the series. The Mahāvākya that we have taken up for today is Prajñānam Brahma. Prajñānam Brahma comes in the Aitareya Upanishad in the third kanda, first chapter and third shloka. What does Prajñānam Brahma literally mean is that it is that the consciousness is Brahman. Prajñānam Brahma literally means the consciousness is Brahman. So can these two words be called as a sentence? Because if you see, there is absence of verb. Can this be called as a sentence? There is no syntactic requirement in Sanskrit for a verb when the identity is semantically clear, which is the case in the Mahāvākya Prajñānam Brahma. And regarding the absence of the verb, there is also no hard and fast rule that the verb should always exist or it should always be present. In case it is not there, we can imply it. So, in this case, such as the Prajñānam Brahma, we can imply it to be Prajñānam Brahma Asti. So, the Asti is to be implied here. Moreover, the words Prajñānam and Brahma are in Samanadhikaranya, so this is not going to be an issue here. So this is indeed a Mahāvākya only. What forms a Mahāvākya? What are the pramanas and other things? We have already seen in the last series while we were discussing Aham Brahmasmi. So now we will get inside the shloka because there are many other things to discuss. The shloka, like I said, comes in the third kanda of the Aitareya Upanishad. The shloka goes this way. Esha Brahma Esha Indra, Esha Prajapatirete, Sarve Deva, Imani cha Pancha Mahabhutani, Prithvi, Vayu, Rakasha, Apaha, Jyoti, Gumshi, Iti, Imani cha Kshudra Mishrani, Iva, Bijani, Itarani cha Andajani cha, Jaru Jani cha, Sweda Jani cha, Udbid Jani cha, Ashwa, Gavaha, Purusha, Hastino, Yat Kinchite, Idam, Prani Jangamam cha patatri cha yancha sthavaram sarvam tat pragyana netram pragyane pratishthitam pragya netraha lokaha pragya pratishtha pragyanam brahma. This is the shloka. Now we said that consciousness is Brahman. The vichara starts from here. We will come back to the shloka later. And we will also see how Bhagavad Padacharya has commented on that shloka. When we were talking initially, we told that Brahman is consciousness. Now, naturally, a doubt might arise as what if it is intending to say that the consciousness is a quality of Brahman and not directly consciousness is Brahman. You'll have to understand this very correctly. What is the Purvapakshi trying to say is that the consciousness is a quality or guna of the Brahman and not directly consciousness in itself is Brahman. Is the Purvapakshi's question. When we say the consciousness is Brahman, this question might naturally arise. So what Advaitins say is that if you are asking such a question, this will lead or this will result into something called as guna-guni relation, guna-gunin relation. That is, when we say that Brahma possesses consciousness, when I say as a quality, which means the quality is possessed by Brahma, that will become the guna-gunin relation, and we will have to say that Brahma possesses consciousness. If we have to say that, then ideally the word should be in Shashti Vibhakti. The word Prajnana should be in Shashti Vibhakti, which is the genitive case, which is not present here. So it cannot be the guna of Brahman. Now if you ask me, why can't we do Vibhakti Vyatyaya for it and change it to Shashti? There are many places where Vibhakti Pratyayas have been done both by Advaitins also. We have done the Vibhakti Pratyaya in places that require it to be done. So why can't we do the Vibhakti Vyatyaya in this case and take Prajnanam Brahma to be Brahma possesses consciousness, to be in that way. Either you can, if you're not Shashti, you can at least take Tritiya. Why? The question is, why can't we do the Vibhakti Vyatyaya and change it accordingly? So, for that, we'll have to understand where we can do Vibhakti Vyatyaya first. Vibhakti Vyatyaya ideally can be done when the Yatha Shrutartha, or the primary meaning, does not work properly. Ideally, there are other rules also, but ideally, when the Yatha Shrutartha or the primary meaning does not work properly or does not intend to give the right meaning, that is when we other sorts are resorted to. But in the case of Prajnanam Brahma, the Yatha Shrutartha or the primary meaning does work properly, and there is no requirement for Vibhakti Pratyaya to be done. And not only that, if in case you are doing Vibhakti Vyatyaya, it will contradict the nature of Upanishad. How does it contradict the nature of Upanishad? And other things we will see. What is happening? You are changing that to Shashti or Tritiya. In that case, you are saying that Brahma possesses consciousness. That will imply that Brahman is separate from the substance of consciousness. By saying so, consciousness becomes a guna or an instrument, and thereby you are introducing duality between the essence and its properties. So that will not work. Then, one more question naturally will arise as to who or what is the real Brahman. The substratum apart from the consciousness. If it is apart from the consciousness or the Brahman, what remains? Whatever is apart from the Brahman Brahman, will it also have consciousness or will it gain consciousness? If it gains consciousness, it is not permanent, it will lose. Can something in reality also exist apart from the Brahman, which is the consciousness? All such questions will arise. So, doing Vibhakti Vyatyaya leads to ontological contradictions. So, doing Vibhakti Vyatyaya either to Shashti or an instrument as Karanes Tritiya to Tritiya, or even changing it to things like Brahma Prajnanavan is not right in the current sense. So Vibhakti Vityaya cannot be done, and the Prajnanam Brahma in itself is absolutely working perfectly. Now one more question might arise as to how do you say that Brahman is equal to consciousness? Not only that, how can you say that Brahman, which is all, which is everything, is just within you as consciousness? How can you say so? Now we will take the first question that they have intended to ask, that how can you say that Brahman is equal to consciousness? See, first we have to understand that consciousness is not property of either the body or mind. The body by its own merit cannot know, and mind is also constantly changing. So mind can also not know. Moreover, mind is also being known only because of that consciousness, which is the Brahman, which is illumining it. Moreover, the consciousness because of which the body appears to be working, the mind appears to be working, the buddhi appears to be there, is never changing. It is unchanging. It is the same anubhava that I exist. I am there. That anubhava is constant throughout all the states, such as the waking, dream, and the deep sleep. So the consciousness is nitya. It is never gone away. It is always there within us. It is eka. That same consciousness is there throughout without changing. And it is also sarva vyapaka. It is there throughout and it is there everywhere. These qualities that we said now, such as nitya, eka, and sarva vyapaka, are also the qualities of Brahman or the self-consciousness. See, the self-consciousness or the Brahman is swatasiddha. It does not need any other pramana to show it. With our own experience, we know that there is this feeling that I exist. It does not need any other pramana to show it. Even if you are sitting in the dark room, there is a famous example that most of you would have heard. Even if you are sitting in the dark room, you know that I exist without any light being required for you to know that you exist. So the Brahman and consciousness are the same because of its qualities that we have told earlier, such as Nitya, Eka, and Sarva Vyapaka. Bhagavad Padacharya in his Bhashya says, Natu prajnanat anyat kinchit brahmanaha swarupam vidyate. Very clear. He says there is nothing other than consciousness, which is Brahman, which is the essential matter or the substratum. Now we will come to the same question. How can you say that Brahman, which is all, which is ever pervading, which is everything, which is all, he is just consciousness? See, consciousness is not of many, or it is not of many things. It is one substratum which all the appearances occur on it. It is that substratum on which the world, the jīva, the Ishvara, the family, the nama rupa, everything occurs on that substratum. So it is not, it is okay to absolutely say that. Now there is one more question that might arise. What did we see in the previous sentence? That Brahman and the consciousness both have same qualities, such as Nitya, Eka, and Sarva Vyapaka. But just because two things share same qualities, that does not mean they are same thing or they are same. We know many objects in the world share same qualities or same properties, but that does not imply same identity. It's a very very minute or very hair-splitting discussion. So why do you say that consciousness is equal to Brahman? Just because they share properties. So what do we say? You are right in general. For that Purva Pakshi, we say you are right in general. For example, two white objects are not same just because both are white. But that logic does not apply here. Because normal things, for normal things, the shared qualities are incidental. But for Brahman, shared or common qualities are essential. Now, in normal world, each object has many other differing qualities. For example, if you take an example of salt and sugar, they might appear same, but there are so many apparent distinction between the salt and the sugar. But in consciousness or in Brahman, there is no difference that exists. In normalcy, objects are external, finite, and objectifiable. But in consciousness, the Brahman, the consciousness or the Brahman is infinite and unobjectifiable. Not only that, in normal objects, there is multiplicity. For you to know that there are two qualities, you need at least two products, two items, or two figures to know that they are identical. But in case of Brahman or consciousness, that is one. There is no two there. The Brahman is the consciousness. So, for better understanding, it was put that way, but in reality, it is one. There is no multiplicity there. And therefore, if all essential defining attributes are common and shared, and there is no difference, then it is very easy to say that Prajnanam is indeed Brahman only. Okay? But, see, but our Anubhava does not say that. What does it say? When we say, it says my consciousness, his consciousness, their consciousness. So isn't there a multiplicity that we are experiencing where it is my consciousness, his consciousness, and the other's consciousness, and so on? For what Advaiti asks is, ask yourself. If multiplicity existed in reality, as in the Paramarthika level, then ideally you should also experience multiplicity of consciousness. Do you also experience so many consciousness? No, it is just his own consciousness. Do you see another consciousness as another object? See, if you are saying that, even for you to assume another consciousness as another object, you need your consciousness, which is the substratum. So there is no multiplicity of consciousness, to say so. Then, therefore, it is good to say that all individual experiences are illumined by that underlying consciousness, appearing as many through the upadhis. The upadhi meaning the body mind complex, through the upadhis. Upanishad in itself declare that identity, and in case of Prajnanam Brahma, is identity and not similarity. If Upanishad had said that Prajnanam is like Brahma, or Brahma has consciousness, then the question of Prajnanam and Brahman being different would be valid, which is not the case here. And hence the question that you are asking, or the Purvapakshi is asking, is ontological and literal. And hence it cannot be valid. Now, what do Advaitins say? That the Brahman, which is the consciousness, is nirguna only. For what the Purvapakshi asks is, why or what harm do you have in taking that to be either Vishnu or Shiva or any form of god or goddesses? There are two questions in this. We'll see what harm do we have first. See, what harm is that you are imposing a name, form, functions on a formless. This destroys the nirguna tattva and the moksha. Additionally, the chit, because of which we are able to know, is reduced to only a guna. More importantly, we can at least leave all these things. More importantly, the problem that might arise because of this is that you are literally deviating from the path of Upanishad, and you are taking upasana to be final. All the upasana vakyas that glorify Vishnu or Shiva or Shakti to be final. That cannot happen, because the anta is in the Upanishad or the Vedanta only. Not only this, if you say Brahman is Vishnu or Shiva, what is happening? First, like I said, you are contradicting the Upanishad Vakya or the mantra. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Nirgunam hi evaitad Brahma. Here the Shruti is explicitly saying or refuting any attribute that is superimposed on the Brahman. Now, if you still say that Brahman is not Nirguna and only Shiva or Vishnu, then we will say, the Advaitins or the Upanishads say, that you are limiting that Brahman to a particular form. When you are limiting the Brahman to a particular form, when you are attributing a form, those forms are also Upadi Swarupa Sambandha only. Bhagavad Pada in his Bhashya says, Sarvam Namarupatmakam Mithya. See, this also leads to eternal dependency on Brahma. Like the Vedavadis say, there are Vakyas, or even in the Bhashyas, the Vedavadis have very vehemently quoted, saying that even if you become liberated here, you will be taken to Vishnu Loka, where you will serve as a devotee or subordinate to Brahma. This contradicts so many Upanishad Vakyas. We will take one such as Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. If you take that Vakya, then the whatever the Purvapakshi says, that even if you are liberated here, you will go to Vishnu Loka or Shiva Loka and you will stay there as a subordinate to them. This directly contradicts the Upanishad Vakya that says Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. One who knows the Brahman, he will become Brahman himself, which means he will get liberated here and now. Ihaiva Atraiva. Upanishad uses these words. So, saying so cannot be right. Now the Purvapakshi will ask, if you are saying so, this will lead us to ask that if one is saying that I am a devotee of Vishnu, I am a devotee of Shiva, is not at all right in Advaita Vedānta. Also, he will ask one more subsequent question, that what problem do you have? Why can't a particular form such as Vishnu or Shiva be Brahman himself? What did we say before? You will have to understand this very correctly. First, we told that Nirguna to be a guna. Now he is saying Saguna to be himself as the ultimate Parabrahman. So we will take the first question, that what should we not say, or saying that we are a devotee of Vishnu or Shiva is not at all right according to Advaita Vedanta. We will take that question. See, what we say, it is absolutely fine and acceptable to say that you are either a devotee of Vishnu, Shiva, or whoever you want. We have no contradictions in that. What we are saying is, even if you are saying that you are a devotee of Vishnu or Shiva or Shakti, it is okay. Even if you begin by seeing Vishnu as Brahman, the final liberation requires you to transcend all the names and forms that are given and abide by that self. If the abidance does not come in the self, this Nama Rupa will not sustain. So, saying that I am a devotee of Vishnu, I am devotee of Shiva, or I am devotee of Shakti is absolutely fine, but your ultimate lakshya should be to know that Brahman. Whenever I mean Brahman is the Nirguna Brahman. Don't think it is the Chaturmukha Brahma. That is Brahma. This is Brahman. So, for the final liberation requires you to transcend all names and forms and abide by that self. So it is absolutely okay for you to say you are a devotee of whoever you want to be. Now, the question, a very interesting question that the Purvapakshis have asked. What problem do you have if you say that a particular form in itself is the Parabrahman? Just like you are saying the Nirgunam Brahman is the Parantatva. Why can't you say a form such as Shankachakra Gadhadhari Vishnu or Trishula-dhari Shiva be the ultimate Brahman? Can't that be a ultimate Brahman? The answer is both yes and no, depending on the Satta. Yes. When is it yes? Yes, it is yes in the Vyavahara. From the standpoint of Vyavahara, Brahman appears in many forms. Bhagavad Padacharya in his Bhashya has also quoted that Brahmanaha api upadyapekshaya vishnutvam rudratvam brahmatvam. He quotes this in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya. I will repeat. Bhagavad Pada says Brahmanaha api upadyapekshaya vishnutvam rudratvam brahmatvam. So yes, Vishnu as a form is Brahman and valid for bhakti, karma, or upasana are in the Vyavaharika Satta. When is it no? No, in the Paramarthika Satta or in the Paramarthika Drishti. In Paramarthika Drishti, there are no names and forms and qualities. So any form is in itself not Brahman, but it is only a manifestation of Brahman. How? Just as the space appears to be divided in pot or a jar or a tumbler or a room, so also Brahman appears as Shiva, Vishnu, Jiva, etc. But the pot space is not essentially different from the Mahākasha. The Ghatakasha is essentially not different from the Mahākasha, and it is only separated by the Upadhi. And similarly, the Vishnu as a form is only due to the Upadhi. If you argue it is almost like Nirguna only, or it is not different from the essence of Brahman, Bhagavad Pada has clearly told his Upanishad. He says, Yad upadhi avachinnam tat sopadikam mithyaiva. It appears through an upadhi, this makes it mithya. Not false, but ultimately not real either. That is the catch there. What does Bhagavad Padacharya say? Bhagavad Padacharya says, Yad upadhyavichinnam tat sopadikam mithyaiva. It appears through an upadhi. This makes it mithya, meaning it is not false, it is not real either. Now there is one other school of thought that says Brahman to be both immanent in the world and transcendent with real plurality, accepted as compatible with unity. In the sense, very typical Purvapaksha, in the sense that Jiva and Brahman are related as both different and non-different. There is a school of thought that says this. This is not possible here. The word grammatically also signifies absolute identity and no attribute or substratum, and not as a qualified difference also. So that cannot happen here. See, what is your logic saying? That to be identical and to be different at the same place. Logically also it cannot happen. Yeah, if you say that A is equal to B, then it is clear. If you say A is not equal to B, it is also clear. But if you say A is equal to B and A is not equal to B, it is self-contradictory. It cannot happen. Moreover, Maya has already accounted for its apparent Veda through the Upadhis. So we do not need real Bheda. So it is not right. Other Purvapaksha says, Prajnanam Brahman refers to the essential identity of the knower and knowledge. That is, consciousness is Brahman, where consciousness is not an attribute, but very essence or swarupa of the Brahman or Atman. He argues that jnanam cannot be the same as the jñāta or the knower. Therefore, prajnanam Brahma cannot mean Brahma as consciousness, but it means Brahman has consciousness as an attribute. This requires a very detailed answer. See, what we'll have to understand as to what the Shruti Vakya says. The Shruti Vakya, such as the Prajnanam Brahma, declare that the very nature of Jnatri, the knower, to be that Brahman. The knower status as knower, Jnatritva, is nothing but knowledge itself. In common worldly usage, one who is ignorant is not said to be the knower. But in scriptural statements like Prajnanam Brahma refer specifically to knower and not mere abstract knowledge. Okay? Because in reality, there is no such thing as knowledge existing apart independently or apart, devoid of a subject. The knower and the knowledge in reality are inseparable. In sentences like jnāna-matra param brahma, it implies the absence of ignorance and not denial of any attributive nature of knowledge. How? Just as a lamp does not require another lamp to illumine or to be illuminated, Advaitins also say that the knowledge or the consciousness needs no other consciousness to know itself. Because the knower and the knowledge are not viewed separately. Therefore, the nature of knower is indeed nirguna only. If you say that it is not so, then it is lapse or not proper understanding on your part, or whoever questions that. By logic, if you see, the inert object, the jada, cannot possess the status of the knower. But you say that the knowledge is one thing, the knower is something else. But the truth, knowledge is the very dharma of the knower. Knowledge stands with always, if you see, the knowledge stands with a reference to the object, the jnaya, as a support. When the object is absent, the knowledge is also absent. But what shines as consciousness is the very nature of the knower. This essential knowledge is different from the conditioned or rational knowledge. And therefore, it is precisely this essential knowledge of the consciousness or the knower that is referred in the statement Prajnanam Brahma. Maybe this might have been very in detail. So I will summarize the entire Purva Paksha and Siddhanta. He says there is knowledge and there is knower. So the jnanam cannot be same as the jnata. So the prajnanam Brahman cannot mean Brahma is consciousness, but it means Brahman has consciousness as an attribute. In summary, the answer is, he's saying jnana to be as a guna. See, jnana is swaswarupa, or the swarupa of the Brahman is that consciousness. It is not that the Brahman is merely possessing it. The next thing that he says is the jnana needs jnaya. We can easily refute this by saying that in deep sleep, objectless consciousness exists. This proves that the Swarupa Jnana is independent and it does not need any object. He says the knower cannot be equal to the knowledge. As we say, the knower and the knowledge are the same. The Purvapakshi says the knower cannot be equal to the knowledge. Advaitin say there is no duality. The distinction between empirical and the essential knowledge revolves around all these contradictions. When the contradictions are removed, the knower, knowledge, everything is that same. Now we will go back. We will go back to the shloka. What does the shloka say? Esha Brahma, Esha Indra, Esha Prajapati Rete Sarve Deva Imani cha Pancha Mahabhutani Prithvi Vayurakasha Apo Jyoti Gumshi Etani Imani cha Kshudra Mishrani Iva Bijani Itarani cha Andajani cha Jarujani cha Swedajani cha Udbijani cha Ashwa Gavaha Purusha Hastinaha Yat Kinchididam Prani Jangamam cha Patatri cha Yencha Sthavaram सर्वं तत् प्रज्ञाना नेत्रं प्रज्ञाने प्रतिष्ठितं प्रज्ञाने नेत्रः लोकः प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठा प्रज्ञानं ब्रह्मा. We will see as to how Bhagavad Padacharya has written commentary on this. Bhagavad Padacharya's commentary, I will read the commentary first. And then explain what he is intending to say. Only then you will appreciate how Bhagavad Padacharya's bhashya has been clearly flowing like a river Ganges. There is no Bhagavad Padacharya while commenting or his bhashya does not, you don't have to trouble yourself and trouble others also to make it understand. It is so clear. He says, Sa yeshaha prajnana rupa atma brahma aparam sarvasharirastha pranaha prajnanatma antahkarana upadishu anupravishtaha jalabhedagata surya pratibimbavat hiranyagarbha pranaha prajnanatma yesha eva indraha gunat devarajo va yesha prajapatihi yaf prathamajaha shariri yathaha mukadi nirbedad द्वारिणी अग्र्यादयः लोकपाला जाता स प्रजापतिरेषा एव यः अपि एते अज्ञादयः सर्वे देवा एष एव इमानि च सर्वशरीर उपादानभूतानि पञ्चपृथिव्यादीनि महाभूतानि अन्नन्नादत्वलक्षणानि एतानि किञ्च इमानि च क्षुद्रमिश्राणि क्षुद्रैः अल्पकैः मिश्राणि इव शब्दः अनर्थकः सर्पादीनि बीजानि कारणानि इतराणि च द्वारश्येन निर्दिश्यमानानि कानि तानि उच्यन्ते अण्डजानि पक्ष्यादीनि जारुजानि जारुयुजानि मनुष्यादीनि स्वेदजानि यूकादीनि उद्भिज्जानि च वृक्षादीनि अश्वाः गावः पुरुषाः हस्तिनः अन्यच्च यत्किञ्चित् इदं प्राणि किं तत् जङ्गमं यच्चलति पद्भ्यां गच्छति यच्च पतत्रि आकाशेन पतनशीलं यच्च स्थावरम् अचलं सर्वं तत् अशेषतः प्रज्ञानेत्रं प्रज्ञाप्तिः प्रज्ञा तच्च ब्रह्मैव नीयते अनेन इति नेत्रम् प्रज्ञानेत्रं यस्य तदिदं प्रज्ञानेत्रं प्रज्ञाने ब्रह्मणि उत्पत्तिस्थितिलयकालेषु प्रतिष्ठितं प्रज्ञा आश्रयमित्यर्थः प्रज्ञानेत्रः लोकः पूर्ववत् प्रज्ञाचक्षुर्वा सर्व एव लोकः प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठा सर्वस्य जगतः तस्मात् प्रज्ञानं ब्रह्म तदेतत् प्रत्यस्तम् इतः सर्व उपाधि विशेषं सत् निरञ्जनं निर्मलं निष्क्रियं शान्तम् एकम् अद्वयं नेति इति सर्वविशेष अपोह संवेद्यं सर्वशब्दप्रत्ययगोचरं तदत्यंत विशिष्ट प्रज्ञा उपाधि संबंधेन सर्वज्ञम् ईश्वरं सर्वसाधारण अव्याकृत जगद्बीज प्रवर्तकं नियंत्रित्वात् अंतर्यामि संज्ञां भवति तदेव व्याकृत जगद्बीजभूत बुद्ध्यात्मकाभिमानि लक्षणं हिरण्यगर्भसंज्ञं भवति तदेव Antarandodbhuta prathama sharira upadhim virat prajapati sanyam bhavati. तदुद्भूत अग्र्याद्युपाधिमान् देवता संज्ञं भवति तथा विशेष शरीर उपाधिषु अपि ब्रह्मादि स्तंभपर्यन्तेषु तत्तत् नामरूपलाभः ब्रह्मणः तदेवैकं सर्व उपाधि भेदभिन्नं सर्वैः प्राणिभिः तार्किकैश्च सर्वप्रकारेण ज्ञायते विकल्प्यते च अनेकधा. This is the Bhashya Bhag. What is he saying? His first sentence, he says, Sayesha Prajnana Rupa Atma Brahma Aparam Sarva Sharirastaha Pranaha Prajnana Atma. He says that very one, or the Sayesha, the Brahman, the self, in the form of pure consciousness, Prajnana Rupena Atma is Brahman. He says that is supreme, Aparam. And also appears as Prana, the vital force, the intellective self, Prajnana Atma, and he resides in all bodies. Then Bhagavad Padacharya says, Antahkarana upadishu anupravishtaha jalabhedagata surya pratibimbavati. He says, he enters into Antahkarana upadis, are the internal instruments like the mind, intellect, ego. Just like the reflection of the sun enters into various containers of water. When there are multiple containers of pot that are kept, just like the sun enters into each pot, this the Brahman also enters in that way. He says, Hiranyagarbha pranaha prajnanatma. Esha eva indraha gunati devarajova. He says this prajnanatma, the consciousness, the self, is also called Hiranyagarbha from the cosmic mind, the vital force, prana, and Indra, the chief of all gods, depending on the qualities, gunat, that is associated with the upadhi. Yesha prajapatihi yaf prathamajaha shariri yataha mukhadi nirbheda dwarena ajñādayaha lokapala jataha sa prajapatiresha eva. This very one, the consciousness, is also the Prajapati, the Lord of all creatures. He is also not that, he is the first born, from whom through the distinctions like the mouth, etc., the guardian deities like Agni and others have emerged. He alone is the Prajapati. Yepi ete ajñādayaha sarve deva esha eva. All these gods, Agni and the rest of the other gods, are also indeed the Brahman or the consciousness self alone. Imani cha sarva sharira upadana bhutani pancha prithivyaadini mahabhutani annānnādatva lakshanani etani. As in these 5 great elements, the earth, water, fire, air, and space, which constitute all the physical bodies, are marked by ether and the food distinctions. They are also not apart. They are also that one Brahman himself. Kincha imani cha kshudra mishrani kshudrair alpakair mishrani iva shabdaha anartakaha sarpadhini. Moreover, he says, these various minor mixed species like snakes, creatures of less forms such as amoeba and other things, are called mixed due to it being insignificant or impure, are also included as one in this unity. And see, Bhagavad Padacharya, he is not leaving one word, he says Iva. Iva here does not imply doubt, or it does not appear as though. He says it is used loosely. Bijani karanani itarani cha dvarasyena nirdishyamanani. He says there are various seeds and causes, as in the bija karanani. Whether one kind or another, they are all indicated here in pairs. Kanitani uchyante andajani pakshyadini jarujani jarayujani manushyadini svedajani yukadini udbijjani cha vrikshadini. What are those? He says they are as follows. Egg born, andajani, they are like birds and others. Womb born, jarayujani, like humans and animals. Sweat born, svedajani, like the lice. Sprout born, udbijjani, like the trees and plants. Ashvaha, Gavaha, Purushaha, Hastinaha, Anyaccha yat kinchit idam prani. Horses, cows, humans, elephants, and every other living beings like these, like all of these. Kim tate jangamam yat chalati padmyam gacchati yaccha patatri akashena patana sheelam yaccha sthavaram achalam. What are these? It says movable beings that walk on the foot, or flying creatures that move through the air, or immovable things like trees and mountains. Sarvam tate asheshataha prajñānetram prajñāptihi prajñā tacca brahmaiva niyate anena iti netram prajñānetram yasya tadidam prajñānetram. All of this, without exception, is governed by that consciousness, prajñānetram. Prajñāptihi, as in the is prajñāptihi is prajñā, the consciousness in itself. And that prajñāna is Brahman. There is a word netram. Bhagavad-pada says netram as in the governing force, meaning that by which everything is directed. Thus, that which has prajñāna as it's directed, it is the prajñānetram. Prajñāne brahmani utpatti sthiti-laya kaleshu pratishtitam prajñāshrayam ityartaha. He says Brahman in the form of consciousness is the support or the substratum for all creations and sustenance. And it is not just creation and sustenance, it is also the substratum or support for the dissolution. This means that everything in reality is rooted or is that Brahman himself. Prajñānetraha lokaha purvavate. Prajñā chakshurva sarva eva lokaha. Just as before, the entire universe was governed by this consciousness, prajñānetra, or rather, all the worlds have this consciousness as their eye, as the prajñāna chakshus. Prajñā prathishtita sarvasya jagataha tasmat prajñānam brahma. He says, not one word extra or loosely has been commented here. Bhagavad-pada, he says, consciousness is the foundation of the entire universe, or the substratum of the entire universe. Therefore, prajñānam brahma, the consciousness is Brahman. Then he says, tadetat pratyestam itas sarva upadhi vishesham tat niranjanam nirmalam nishkriyam shantam ekam advayam neti iti sarva vishesha apoha samvedyam sarva shabda pratyaya gocharam. He says that Brahman, having eliminated all limiting adjuncts as the upadhi, is the pure existence, untainted, spotless, actionless, peaceful, one, and non-dual. It is grasped only by the method of negation, that is neti. This is not this, not this, not this. And when you remove all the adjuncts or the upadhis or the visheshanas, that which cannot be removed, that is that prajñānam, that is that Brahma, that is transcending all worlds, concepts, and particularities. And he says, Bhagavad-pada continues, he says, tad atyanta vishutta prajñā upadhi sambandena sarvajñam ishwaram sarva sadharana avyakrita jagadbija pravartakam niyantritvat antaryami sanyam bhavati. That very Brahman, when associated with the extremely pure upadhi of pure consciousness, appears as omniscient, or the Lord, or the Ishvara, the seed of the undifferentiated casual worlds. The universal together, or the universal regulator, niyanta, and is called the antaryamin, or the inner controller. We see very clear, he says here, when that very Brahman, when it is associated with extremely pure upadhi of pure consciousness, appears as the Lord Ishvara. Tadeva व्याकृत जगत बीज भूत बुद्ध्यात्म अभिमान लक्षणम हिरण्यगर्भ संज्ञम भवति. That same Brahman, when it is identified with the subtle intellect or the buddhi, that becomes the seed of manifest world, is known as the Hiranyagarbha. Tadeva antarandodbhuta prathama sharira upadhim Virat Prajapati Sangyam Bhavati. That same Brahman is associated with the first gross body born of this cosmic anda, or the egg, is the Virat, or the Prajapati. Tad udbhuta ajñād upadhimat devata sangyam bhavati. When connected with the upadhis like Agni and other deities, it is called the devatas. Tatha vishesha Sharira upadhishu api brahmadi stambha paryanteshu tattan nama rupa labha brahmanaha. Thus, in various special bodies, from Brahma to even a blade of grass or the stambha, Brahma assumes different names and forms. No one can give as clear as Bhagavad Padacharya has given. We have no idea as to what good fortunes we have done that we are able to read this and we are able to understand this. There are so many people who are also reading this, but there is either anyata grahana or agrahana that is happening. It is Bhagavad Padacharya's utmost grace that we are reading his Bhashya, we are also able to understand that correctly. Tadevaikam sarva upadi beda binnam sarvaihi pranibhis tarkikaischa sarva prakarena jñāyate vikalpyate cha anekada. That one Brahman, appearing as diverse due to upadi differences, is known and is conceptualized in many ways by all beings and philosophers alike. He's Bhagavad Padacharya's typical Vakya. He is quoting a Smriti Vakya to support whatever has been said. He says, Etam eke vadantyagnim manumanye prajapatim indram eke apare pranam apare brahmashashvatam ityadya smritihi. This comes in the Manusmriti. He says, some call it Agni, some call it Manu, some call it Prajapati, some call it Indra, some call it Prana, and some others call it Brahman. Whatever you call, in reality, it is eternal. It is that Brahman himself. So, your very essential nature is nothing but Brahman. And this is what the Mahāvākya Prajñānam Brahman. Prajñānam Brahma has come to teach us that you are not apart from Brahma, you are appearing to be apart from Brahma because of the upadhis. In reality, you are that Brahman. When you know this reality and you realize this, you read the Bhashya, realize this truth, you have to abide by self. You will get moksha only when you abide. The moksha is in the abidance of the self. Okay? With this, we will conclude this. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you very much, Vedānta, for this wonderful lecture. As you said, we are very blessed that Shankara has written a commentary on these Mahāvākyas. And in this world, we are very blessed to have teachers like you who break it down for us in a language that we are familiar with. Thank you very much once again. Viewers, we have many such sessions. At today, 7 p.m. India time, we have a book launch, and it is Shankarayanam, A Journey of Shankara. It's a book launch and discussion with Subramanian Chidambaram. So please do join us at 7 p.m. India time. Thank you and namaste.